Good morning. I want to do a Bible study today about something that really interested me. One little word called seed, S-E-E-D. And we're going to start with the Abrahamic covenant. God's promise to give the land to Abraham and his descendants is a central theme in this covenant. We are going over the main scriptures where the land was given. We're going to look at God speaking directly to Abraham. Genesis 12:1-3. Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Genesis 12:1-3 marks the Abrahamic covenant, where God commands Abraham to leave his homeland for an unknown destination. In return, God promises to make him a great nation, make his name great, and use him to bless all the families of the earth. It took obedience for Abraham to leave his familiar surroundings, which initiated a covenant based on divine blessing and a global promise that through him all families would be blessed. These scriptures record the first steps of Abraham in his path of faith. He was told by the Lord to separate himself from his country, his kindred, and from his father's house. In other words, leave your comfort zone. He didn't have a choice in the matter. He received his orders from the Lord, and he was to go where those orders led him. The nation that God made of Abraham changed the world and exists unto this day. This nation, which is Israel, still has a part to play in God's plan. All right, let's look at this. God gave Abraham the land. This is in Genesis 12:6-7. And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the plain of Moriah. And the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abraham and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. Shechem becomes sacred to the Israelites because while this is God's second revelation of himself to Abraham, it was the first revelation in the Promised Land. Shechem is near the geographic center of Canaan, and Joshua 20:7 tells us that. And they appointed Kedesh in Galilee, in Mount Naphtali, and Shechem in Mount Ephraim, and Kirjath Arba, which is Hebron, in the mountain of Judah. All right, let's look at some more scriptures on the land given. Genesis 13:14-17. And the Lord said unto Abraham, after that Lot was separated from him. Okay, now why was Lot separated from Abraham? There was strife between Abraham's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen because the land was unable to bear the flocks, herds, and tents of each. So Abraham told Lot, Let there be no strife. Separate thyself from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. If thou wilt take the right hand, then I will go to the left. So Lot lifted up his eyes and took the well-watered land, all the plain of Jordan to the east, the best land. Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plains. Okay, after God told Abraham, after that Lot had separated from him, God told Abraham, lift up now thine eyes and look from the place where thou art, northward, southward, and eastward, and westward. For all the land which thou seest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed forever. And I will make thy seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall thy seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and the breadth of it, for I will give it unto thee. After Lot separates from Abraham, God tells Abraham to look in all four directions. He promised to give him all this land and to his seed forever as a permanent possession. In verse 14 it says, lift up your eyes and look around you. By lifting his eyes, Abraham's focus is shifted from the temporal worldly gain that Lot pursued to God's eternal spiritual vision. In verse 15, and to your seed forever. The complete Jewish Bible translates the Hebrew word zerah as descendants or seed. Excuse me. God promises both the physical land of Canaan to his lineage and an eternal inheritance. In verse 16, as numerous as the specks of dust, God illustrates the future magnitude of the Jewish people. Just as dust cannot be counted, Abraham's offspring would grow into a vast nation. In verse 17, get up and walk through the length and the breadth of it. In ancient Near Eastern custom, walking the boundaries of the property was a physical, legal act of taking possession of a promised inheritance. God was inviting Abraham to step into his destiny. All right, let's look at something else. Let's look at the boundaries, the land boundaries. The covenant concerning the boundaries. In Genesis 15, 18 through 21, in the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. The Canaanites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites, I can't pronounce these properly, but anyway, and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaims and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. All right, in the preceding verses, God walked through the split animal parts as a smoking fire pot and a flaming torch. By passing through these parts alone, God took the ultimate self-mandatory oath upon himself, because Abraham was asleep. This means his promise of the land is unconditional. It depends entirely on God's faithfulness, not Abraham's actions. All right, let's look at verse number 18. Genesis 15, 18. God defines the land from the Valley of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates River. The Valley, or the Brook of Egypt, is a seasonal stream, modern-day Wadi El Arish in the Sinai, rather than the Nile River, which marks the southwestern boundary. And the Euphrates River serves as the northwestern boundary. Excuse me. Let's go to Genesis 15, 19 through 21. This is where God explicitly lists the specific inhabitants of the land to be conquered, those that I couldn't pronounce very well. These people represent the 10 distinct pagan nations who would eventually be displaced by the Israelites. All right, let's look at something else. The land will be an everlasting possession. Genesis 17, 7 and 8. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee, and to thy seed after thee, the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. God establishes an everlasting covenant with Abraham. This promises two unbreakable realities: a perpetual lineage where God will be their God, and the permanent inheritance of the land of Canaan. It guarantees God's enduring relationship with the Jewish people. All right, let's look to the New Testament and see what Paul has to say about Galatians 3 and 16 says, Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not, and to seeds, S-E-E-D-S, as of many, but of one, and to thy seed, which is Christ. According to Paul, there were two beneficiaries of God's promise to Abraham. Abraham and his seed, referring to Abraham and his offspring, his descendant. Normally in the Bible, seed is understood to be a collective noun, referring to more than one offspring. But in his remarks, Paul denied the seed, S-E-E-D, God spoke of in his covenant with Abraham, referred to the many seed of Abraham. Rather, he said God in his covenant was making a significant reference to only one seed, one descendant, Jesus Christ. The collective seed would not exist if not for the main seed. No matter how great the collective seed may be, how many sons and daughters there are, we all have our origin and our destiny in one seed, Jesus Christ, one seed. God had authorized or confirmed the covenant of which Christ was the fulfillment. The truth of God's covenant with Abraham is that our inheritance as sons and daughters of God is received through the abiding grace of God, which we receive through faith in Jesus Christ. You don't receive the inheritance if you are not sons and daughters of God through faith in Jesus Christ. If it doesn't go through Jesus as the seed, any kind of seed could have the inheritance, but that's not the way it is. So how did Paul come about the matter of the conclusion? This decision of the matter that seed meant one seed, Jesus. The seed of the flesh could not be the seed of the inheritance. We're going to look at Romans 9, 6 through 13. Not as though the word of God hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It is said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. Verse 6 of Romans 9 says, for they are not all Israel, which are Israel. Verse 7 says, because they are seed of Abraham, are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Genesis 17:21, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. Isaac then wasn't born yet. Abraham's oldest child was actually Ishmael. Yet God had proclaimed that his promise to Abraham would be filled through Isaac, the promised child which was not yet born. Paul noticed that the word seed, S-E-E-D, was narrowed down in the Old Testament. He believed that this narrowing down was done by counting, calling, and elective. This narrowing down was done through Isaac and Jacob even before they were born, and from Jacob to Jesus as a singular seed. Since there was a narrowing of the seed, then how was all the nations of the earth blessed? In Genesis 22:15 through 18. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, by myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand upon which is upon the seashore, and thy seed possess the gate of his enemies, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. This was talking about when he almost sacrificed Isaac in Genesis 22. Because of thy seed, one descendant, Jesus, our inheritance as sons and daughters of God is received through the abiding grace of God, which we receive through faith in Jesus Christ and what he did for us on the cross. Did Abraham see his promise fulfilled in his lifetime? No. Abraham did not own land. He was a sojourner in the land. After his death, the nation promise was fulfilled in the days of Moses. The land promise was fulfilled in the days of Moses and Joshua. And the seed promise was fulfilled through Jesus. All the nations of the earth were blessed through Jesus and our faith in him. And I hope that y'all have enjoyed this. I enjoyed doing it for you. And this is only a part of the covenant. There's still a circumcision part. And I'll try to get it done later. I love you. Thank you. And I hope you have a blessed day.